Okay, we'll start. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Iti piso bhagavarahan samma sambuddho vidyacharana sampanno sugato lokavidu. Anuttaro purisadamma sarati sattadeva manusanang buddho bhagavati. Namo tassa samma sambuddhassa. Swakato bhagavata dhammo sanditiko akaliko. Ehipassiko vapanayiko pachatan veditavvo vinnohiti. Namo tassa niyanika sadammasa. Supatipanno bhagavato savaka sango ujupatipanno bhagavato savaka sango nyaya patipanno bhagavato savaka sango samichi patipanno bhagavato savaka sango yadidan chattari purisa yugani atta purisa puggala esa bhagavato savaka sango ahuneyo pahuneyo dakkineyo anjali karaniyo Anuttarang punyaketang lokasati. Namo tassa atta arya puggala mahasangasa. Okay, sadhu. So today's topic is discussing some verses, some gathas. Gathas or verses, what does it mean? It's like some four-line poem, a part of a poem, something like that, in a poetic way. Many times Buddha gives discourses in a poetic way, so it will be more attractive, more effective. So generally it will be of four lines. They are called the verses or the gathas. So this Danda Vagga, it consists of some of these verses, a few verses, some 8-9 verses, or maybe maybe more than that, some 12-13 verses, with some background stories, with some particular situations, circumstances. These 13-14 verses were told in different occasions, in some 8-9 occasions. Some 2-3 verses in one occasion, sometimes only one verse in one occasion. And those verses, they were collected, they were pooled, and they were made a chapter. That Vagga is nothing but a chapter. Vagga means like grouping, a class, a group, a chapter. So these 13-14 verses which were told at some 7 to 8 circumstances, situations, they were pulled together under this heading, Danda Vagga. And this kind of different chapters are there in one of the important scriptures of Buddhism, like different discourses or the verses told by Buddha. They were pooled, they were selected and pooled, and they were compiled in one book called Dhammapala. There are so many Vaggas chapters in this Dhammapala, and in each chapter there are so many verses like in this Danda Vagga. And here in this Danda Vagga, Danda means, it's very much there in all Indian languages. Danda means a stick. Generally, people use the stick for for walking or for beating in the schools. Generally, and of course, nowadays it is not there. For punishing in the ancient days, people or the teachers or even the parents and the elders, they used to have one kind of stick. That stick is called Danda. And this Danda, the same stick, like they use in one martial arts. In India, it's very much there. In China also it is there. In the Shaolin temples, they use some Danda, some stick, some long stick. as a defense system, or you want to attack also, you want to punish, you want to say beat some people who are not listening to uh, the rules. So in that way, this danda is a symbol of violence, symbol of punishment. The stick is generally a symbol of punishment, symbol of violence, symbol of authority, symbol of taming. Generally, it is a symbol of violence and punishment. So that is what is discussed here in this vagga. Vagga means varga means like a chapter, a class, a group of verses, a group of gathas, a chapter of gathas. All those gathas have some say uh, meaning, either the shallow meaning or the deep meaning regarding this punishment and violence. When to punish, whom to punish, what is the right mode of punishment, what is the wrong mode of punishment. In the name of punishment, how people are trapped into a lot of unwholesomeness, demeritorious things they are doing in the name of punishment. And what is the right way of punishment? Those things are discussed in these different gathas, this Dandavagga. This also gives some insights into the dangers of violence, the dangers of cruelty, hmm, the dangers of wrong kinds of punishment, the dangers of harming others. At different levels, one can harm. Physical harming is one thing, then harming hmm, or punishing, trying to punish, or generating violence in the speech also, generating violence in the actions, physical actions, in the verbal actions, so showing that violent attitude, that harshness, that vindictiveness at the mental level also. At mental level also, one can show one's harshness, one's vindictiveness, one's violence, that cruelty one can show physically also, verbally also, mentally also. There are different gathas, different verses in this Dandavagga, where it has been selected, where there is some physical violence, hmm, how it affects, how Buddha teaches the people who are indulged in physical violence in the name of punishment, in the name of controlling others, the name of teaching others, the name of punishing others, in the name of making others right, thinking that we are right, trying to make others right, using physical violence. There are a few gathas. In those circumstances, what are the Buddha's teachings? And there are some gathas where there is verbal violence, abusing, accusing, scolding, talking harshly, maliciously talking. So those, there are some verses by talking like that. What are the after effects? What is the counter effect of that kind of violent verbal actions in the form of harsh speech, malicious speech, hmm, very wretched speech? So that kind of uh, violent verbal actions and its counter effects that has been discussed in some of these gathas verses, and of course different circumstances. And again, the next is like the mental actions. If you have violent mental actions, malicious mental actions, thoughts, or vindictiveness, some kind of cruel thoughts in your mind, how it has an impact on you, on others, and how it will revert back, how it will rebound, how it will come back to you. Those things are also discussed in this Dandavagga. And again, how by controlling hmm, in by different ways and means your violent physical actions, your violent mental actions, your violent verbal actions, how one can reach the ultimate liberation, ultimate peace, ultimate happiness, the superior happiness. Those things also are discussed in some of these gathas, which are pulled under this section, under this heading, Danda Vagga. You will see some of them may not be possible to see all the gathas today's Dhamma talk, but a few of them definitely we can see, and we can definitely penetrate into the insights of these different gathas that we can uh, develop. We can penetrate into the deeper meanings of these gathas, and then we can definitely develop some insights about this wrong kinds of punishment, wrong kinds of violence. And also we can learn very authoritatively this law of cause and effect, which is one important component of right view. That's what is our mission. The organization's mission is to understand, promote this right view with more and more clarity, with deeper penetration, going to the core of this right view. If you want to go to the core of this right view, one has to understand this law of cause and effect, this law of karma, law of action and reaction. From all its, say, dimensions, there are so many dimensions for this law of cause and effect. There are so many corollaries or the secondary theories or the laws which will make up this law of karma, like law of attraction, laws of association. There are so many laws which one can understand separately, and if you pull them together, then you can understand law of cause and effect. And also by understanding these different gathas, definitely one will understand the law of cause and effect, law of karma, how good begets good, bad begets bad. In so many ways, one can understand this law of karma, the right view. By understanding the Four Noble Truths, also one can understand the law of karma, law of cause and effect. By understanding the cosmology, the entire universe, how it is, like say, it can be divided into different planes of existence, how people move from one plane of existence to other plane of existence based on their good and bad actions, accumulated good actions and accumulated bad actions, which is nothing but karma. Good karma, bad karma is nothing but accumulated good actions, accumulated bad actions. And how these accumulated good actions will bring back the good results, how the accumulated bad actions will bring back the bad results, which is nothing but the karma, loss of karma, at a broader level, at different lives. It happens in the very same life, in the very same moment. Then and there only people will experience this law of cause and effect. If you create good causes, then and there only you experience the good results. And later also, if you keep on accumulating that, it will pile up, it will reach some threshold, and you will start getting the results. Even after that particular situation, after 1 year, after 10 years, after one life, after 10 lives, until you reach Nibbana, that is very much possible if you start penetrating into this law of cause and effect, law of karma, and all these different gathas, different teachings, the discourses, everything. So it will give each and every word for that matter, will give some insight into uh, understanding this law of cause and effect more authoritatively, more clearly, more comprehensively. So in that way, you can see, you can just go through this Dandavagga or listen to this Dhamma talk from this angle, from this perspective. How I can imbibe the knowledge of this law of cause and effect from these gathas. How I can penetrate into these gathas more authoritatively, more comprehensively, more intelligently, so that I can imbibe this knowledge of law, this knowledge of this law of cause and effect, law of karma, more authoritatively, more clearly. With that perspective, if you start looking at each and every word, then you will definitely progress in right view. And the right view is like a trigger. It will take you, if you start understanding right view, then your intentions, your thoughts become right, your speech become right, your actions become right, and your efforts, your livelihood, everything becomes right, and your mindfulness also become right. Many people, they started teaching a lot of wrong mindfulness techniques also. In the name of mindfulness, there are so many wrong mindfulness techniques also. You can see in the world now. Developing the overall awareness, overall objective awareness, overall mindfulness. There are so many kinds of wrong mindfulness also. You can come out of this wrong mindfulness. If you have this complete clarity about whatever I do, I get back. No need to fall into other extreme views of simply relying on some imaginary ideas or simply relying on only the temporary physical things working at the mind level. All these things, so many intricacies, the inner laws, the secondary laws of karma also you start uh, penetrating, they will start revealing themselves. You start getting that revelation of the law of karma in multiple facets. The different faces of the law of karma, one will start revealing. The revelation of some angel or of God's words. I don't know how far it's a great revelation, but the revelation of the law of cause and effect, law of karma, is a superior revelation which will protect you and here and now and hereafter, and thereby you can protect the people around you, the beings around you. If you start getting the revelation of this law of cause and effect by properly learning these uh, these gathas, properly penetrating into these gathas, properly understanding and comprehending this right view through these different gathas, then you will get a greater revelation, which is far, far superior than the revelation of some divinity or something like that. Revelation of this law of cause and effect is a greater revelation. So, with that introduction about this Danda Vagga, we will see the different gathas now in this Danda Vagga, and what is the proper right knowledge that we should look into, and how it is a great revelation of this law of karma also, and how it will add up to our understanding of right view, penetrating into right view. Those things we will see. And if there is some time, we will see how it can be applied in the present day also. These are not like some ancient laws which is called which is like say suitable for Buddha and the people during that time. No, it is universal, akalika. It is timeless. All the time it can be applied, whether it is in the past or in the present or in the future. This is a timeless, universal law. For that matter, the only law that one should thoroughly understand, so that one can design his life in a more appropriate, more say authoritative way to derive absolute happiness. That is about the importance of law of cause and effect, and that is about the Dandavagga or the chapter on this violence and punishment in this Dhammapada, through which we can derive these insights of this law of karma and the right view. Okay. Now in this Dandavagga, the first gatha is about say all beings, they are scared of violence and punishment, consciously or unconsciously. Consciously, with some adamancy, some people may say, "No, I don't care about violence." But subconsciously, definitely, he will be having some kind of fear about violence. Violence in the form of physical violence or mental violence, or the violence that will create in our mind because of losing something, losing the physical comfort, losing the mental comfort, some kind of fear definitely will be there. So that's why this violence and death, one should not try to inflict on others, because if you honestly, if you just contemplate, hmm, however great he may be, even the arahants were completely free from the fear of death. They will have some fear about the bodily pains. They have to endure the bodily pains. They will have some bodily pains, though they will have they're absolutely free from the mental fears and the fear of death also. They will be having some kind of, say, it's not exactly fear, some kind of concern for the physical pain and for the physic, even for the arahants, those who have completely seen the nibbana enlightenment. And of course, now very difficult to see arahants. Most of us are not into that kind of complete enlightenment, and definitely each and every one of us definitely have that kind of fear for violence, fear for punishment, fear for physical pain. That is very much there. That's what is Buddha's declaration. Out of some show off, out of some hypocrisy, some people may say, I don't care. I have a lot of trust in some divinity, some divine God. He will protect me, He will take care of my life. I don't care about death. No. It may be either your ignorance, your foolishness, or delusion. Mind is completely deluded. Out of the delusion, you may be saying that I don't care about death. I don't have fear of death. I don't have fear of pain. Or out of hypocrisy, out of say showing off yourself that you don't have fear. You are simply expressing like that. But deep inside, you may be having that. Or your subconscious itself may be cheating you. These are the only possibilities. But everyone has this fear. That's what is Buddha's authoritative declaration. Everybody fears death. Everybody fears the pain of punishment, the pain of violence. That's what is the first gatha is all about. That's why one should always see, empathize with others. One should put oneself in others' place and try to avoid harming others, inflicting pain on others, killing others. Forget about killing others, even to inflicting pain on others. One should always put oneself in that place. One should step into his shoes and gauge the situation that I don't want pain, I don't want violence to be inflicted on me. So the same thing with the other person also. So I should not inflict pain and violence and killing, all these violent things, activities I should not inflict on others also. That kind of sense one should have. That's what Buddha teaches in this first gatha and also in the second gatha in of this Danda vagga. Sabbe tasanti dandasa. Danda means here violence, inflicting violence. Tasanti means fierce, scared, afraid of. Sabbe means everyone. Everyone is afraid of violence and this uh, violent punishment, harming, being harmed. Everybody is scared of it. Everybody is afraid of it, including you. That's why, if honestly you see whether you are scared or not, and putting yourself in that position. If you want to harm somebody, first you put yourself in that position, and then you decide either to harm him, either to kill him, either to inflict pain on him. That way, first you decide by putting yourself in that position, by stepping into his shoes, and then you decide. Attanang upamankatva, that's what Buddha says. You make yourself the example, you keep yourself there in his position. Because nobody appreciates, nobody likes to be harmed, nobody likes to be attacked, nobody likes to be killed. That's what is the first gatha. And when he has to expound this gatha, when there was some violent activity going on in his own sangha, some senior monks, like there was one group of 6 monks. They are always like they are they are against the rules of the sangha. Always they try to create some kind of rebellions. They were, even though they were in the community of monks. They used to create some kind of problem by rebelling some of the rules of the Sangha, rules of the community. And they threatened, they behaved very violently with a group of some 16 monks, young monks. And they showed their power of seniority, their physical power with those 16 young monks. And of course, it is very much there in among the lay people also. If somebody is little powerful physically, powerful, say, politically, financially, even with intelligence, people harm others. If they think they are quite smart, they try to harm those who are innocent or say not so intelligent. In that way, people have so many kinds of ego: the ego, the muscle power, the mind power, the money power. So those powerful people definitely they try to create violence, try to inflict some harm, some pain on those who are weak in some of these things. So in such a situation, you just put yourself in the place of the person whom you want to torture or punish, and then decide whether you should punish or not, whether you should inflict pain or not. In that way, he made a rule also in the community or among his disciples, Buddha, not to physically uh, harm others. So that is the rule, one minor rule he just constituted, he framed that rule. So in this case, so the same thing holds good for everyone, for the lay people, for the kings, for the ordinary people, for the monks, for everyone. The physical violence, physically threatening, physically, say, dominating and showing the physical violence is not at all appreciated. It should, and why? Because you don't like it, that's why you should not inflict the same on others. That is point number one. Point number two, you will get back. So whatever physical violence that you inflict on others, sooner or later, it will come back to you in some way or the other way. Because again, you don't want that. So because of that reason, you should not indulge in violent acts. And you should not encourage others also to indulge in violence. Not only you should stop violence, you should not encourage others also to indulge in violence. Nahanaya, Nagata. In that one, not encouraging others also is highlighted in these gathas, in these verses. Because many times these so-called leaders, like in this war also, in this Hamas and these people in the Israel-Hamas war, these leaders, what they do, they try to simply say induce or encourage others with their powerful speeches and all, with of course with a lot of wrong view. This is right view. Whatever I inflict, I get back. So there is no need of indulging in that kind of thing, because there are some other things that I can do which are far, far superior in doing all this nonsense of inflicting pain on others and getting inflicted by them. This is very, very menial, very, very inferior. As a human being, I have so many other superior things to do. So that kind of understanding a person has, nobody will either indulge in this kind of nonsense or inflict this kind of nonsense in others' minds also. They don't encourage this, they don't induce this in others' minds also. That's what is say recommended or taught by Buddha. Then again Buddha says that again the same situation arises after a few days, where even though you are not physically attempting violence, but you may show that kind of physical violence with your movements, raising your hand, showing your aggressiveness in the face and in the hand. So that kind of acts also one should not do, especially among this monastic community, and that is holds good among the lay people, among the householders also. Most of the people, 90% or 95% of the people, they have their own business to do, their own occupation, profession, studies, career, job, business. They have their own business to do. Only some 5% of the people, the so-called leaders of the societies, communities, nations, countries, they do all this nonsense, either threatening or indulging in violence or making other people to indulge in violence. All this nonsense is done by only the so-called some 5% or even less than that, maybe 1% of the people. The rest of the people, they are busy in their own works. Hmm? So, Buddha is again asking people just what the majority of the people are doing by becoming busy in their own things, minding their own business. That is better than getting inspired by the so-called stupid leaders who try to invoke violence, who try to spread violence, who try to, in the name of punishment, in the name of religion, in the name of God, my God, though they talk about same single God, one God, but one group say, my single God is better than your single God, and they fight like brutes. So all this nonsense one need not indulge in. Understand its repercussions. Hmm. How it get back to you, and how you forget about the real purpose of life, your business, your activities, how you forget by indulging in all these power struggles or ego struggles. Hmm, there is no use at all. That's what is the moral of this gathas, the inner meaning of these gathas. And again, again for some the childish people, only the childish people, not with some grudge, maybe with some, for some amusement also, not with some real rage or revengefulness or that vindictiveness. People may indulge in violence. That is one thing. That is one superior violence, higher violence. No, the inferior or the other kind of violence is also there, where the people out of childishness, out of some kind of childish excitement, childish happiness, like some children killing some ants, killing some insects, killing some creatures, small creatures. They don't know the repercussions at all, but out of some excitement, when they see somebody is dying or suffering from pain, the very childish, that, of course, that's also cruel childishness. That some children will enjoy that. The same thing happened. Some children, they were molesting, they were beating one snake out of the ignorance, absolute dullness, absolute childishness, not really having that vindic. They were not very angry with the snake, but out of some childish curiosity, hmm, they were harming that snake, and that is also evil. That is also demerit. That also leads to demerit. That is also evil, because knowingly or childishly, if you indulge in violence, it will come back to you in different proportions, definitely. So because of that reason, again, Buddha gives one more gatha. If you want to really interested in your welfare, you should be sensitive enough not to harm other creatures, other animals, other uh, beings. Even for this, for the sake of entertainment, for the sake of some kind of curiosity, some kind of excitement. Hmm. So in that way, he teaches these children not to indulge in this kind of violent act by beating these snakes, by harming the animals. It's not only the violence at the human levels, either whether they are monks or the renunciates or the lay people or the householders, uh, whether ordinary people or the leaderly people. Violence is violence. There is no need to indulge in. The same thing, again, Buddha is extending it to the animals also. Killing the animals, harming the animals, beating the animals is also cruel, it is also immoral, it is also evil. You will get back. The repercussions are definitely there, because after all, they are also having life. When there is a life, then definitely they will feel that pain, and it will affect the mind. The mind, there will be some kind of repercussions, some kind of revenge they will also generate, and it will have some definitely an impact on the person who indulge in that violent activity. So in that way, understanding these mental movements, just like the physical forces, action and reaction is there, in the mental forces, mental movements, in the thought processes also. This action and reaction is there, and it will come back to you, and you will also get some some kind of, you will also go through the violence from other persons, other beings, other animals, other creatures, other beings. So that's what Buddha teaches these children. This actually they become, after listening to this. They're not children; they're like say boys. They become they could see the enlightenment. That's what in the commentaries they say. It is very small teaching, which will give you lot of insight, lot of penetration into this law of cause and effect. Whatever I do, I get back. If you correctly penetrate into this law of cause and effect, it will liberate you. And these ordinary children, ordinary students, ordinary youth, young boys, they could see that they could become the sotapannas, like they could see the glimpse of enlightenment, the first stage of enlightenment. That is the power of this law of cause and effect. That is the power of this right view, because this law of cause and effect is the core of right view. So if one can penetrate into this, one can become an enlightened person. So that's what is the message of these suttas, of these gathas, these verses. Hmm? So in that two stages we have seen, and of course there are some different sub-layers also, the physically harming and showing the violence in your physical movements, actions, raising your hand, showing some very angry, very violent face, violent physical postures, physical attitude. If it is violent, that's also not good. Harming the people, harming the good people, especially the renunciates and all, it is more evil. Harming the ordinary people is also evil. Harming the animals is also evil. In that way, in different layers, we are looking at this uh, this harming, how harming is dangerous, how harming is evil, how you will get back whatever you do. That we are seeing. Now again, not just in this physical, say harming, physical violence, even at the verbal violence, how it is evil. That's what Buddha talks about in the next verses. So again, there was some kind of uh, quarrel between two groups of monks, or one monk and other group of monks, and they were using some abusive language and some harsh language. The same way, in some other circumstances, even the lay people, when they were using abusive language, harsh language, how it leads to the accumulation of that anger, that hatred by using this abusive language, and how it leads to the more evil, and how it will get back to a person. Those things are very much explained, and here also in this circumstance also, Buddha explains even the harsh speech, the malicious speech, talking violently, maliciously, harshly, mm, even the backbiting, talking behind the people about their weaknesses or their badness, bad way talking to others. All these things is also bad. It will again get back to you. Definitely, it will affect them. It will make your mind more corrupt. It will multiply the corruptions in your mind. That is one point. That is one danger. The second danger is you will get back whatever you did. You will get back. Because of these two reasons, one should not indulge in this kind of abusive speech, harsh speech, malicious speech, backbiting speech. Hmm. So that's what is the Buddha's uh, teaching here, hmm, about this verbal violence. Then coming to the next thing about the verbal violence, there are a few more gathas are there. I think this much is enough now. Now, even how it will accumulate this kind of repetitive physical violence, repetitive verbal violence, uh, and also of course mental violence, even the mental thoughts also. your mental actions, that is nothing but the thoughts, your thinking also. If you have some kind of inferior thinking, then you will get the inferior results. The thinking is followed by your speech. The thinking is followed by your physical actions also. That's why control at the thought level itself, control at the feeling level itself, your emotion level itself. That's what many of you have learned in this metta meditation or this compassion karuna meditation or appreciative joy or in this upekka. You are controlling the thoughts of anger, thoughts of violence at the mind level itself, so that your mental actions become more pure, more loving, more compassionate, more appreciative, more non-jealous, your mental actions. So that's what Buddha is actually teaching in one more gatha, where asking a group of women who hmm, who are practicing upasata. Upasata means like practicing the 8 precepts, not to take food after afternoon, after the lunch. Now, no food. That means no dinner. Not eating in the evening time. Eating between dawn and noon. That's all. And after the noon, not taking the food, so that you will get more time and more interest in not involving in the physical things, going inwards, more involving in meditation, contemplating the teachings, listening to the teachings, and then uh, such kind of spiritual activities. One will get more interest when there's a little bit of hunger inside the body. When you are less interested in the bodily things, when you are more interested in the bodily things, you indulge in all the worldly things. If you are less interested in the bodily things, then you go more into the spiritual things, developing the mind and all. You'll be more interested. So they were practicing this upasada by practicing these 8 precepts of not to eat after 12 o'clock and not to involve in the entertainment, dancing, singing, and all these things. Not to care much about the body, bodily accomplishments, adornments, all these things. Not much bothered. Not interested in eating also. Essential excitement, the form of taste and smells, and all these worldly things. Avoid that. Parties for a day. So that's what is the importance of this taking upasata or this taking 8 precepts. So these women with that 8 precept commitment, they were practicing this upasata in one of the monasteries built by one lady uh, supporter of Buddha, very famous. Her name is Vishaka. And this Vishaka is a very pious lady, intelligent, very spiritual lady. That's how she became a great devotee of Buddha. And she wanted to know the intention of these women to practice this upasata, these 8 precepts. And some women, they told, some old women, very old women, they replied that we wanted to practice this upasata because because they will get a superior birth, some better birth. They can take birth in some better place with better amenities, with better support. That was their intention. Huh? To get birth in a human life in some better place. With that intention, we are practicing this upasata, these 8 precepts. And some middle-aged women, they said, to avoid the problem of this family life, quarreling with our daughters-in-law, having some kind of uh, uh, some hateful thoughts towards the people around us, not to have that quarrelsomeness, to escape from that family environment. We are practicing, we are coming here and staying here in the monastery and practicing this to avoid that kind of quarrelsomeness. In that way, some middle-aged women, they answered. And the married women, uh, just married women, they answered that to get good children, to get son, to get good children, we are practicing this upasata. And the unmarried girls, they told to get good husband, we are practicing this upasata. That way, different women, the girls are women, the ladies are old women. They have with different intentions. They told that we are practicing this upasata. Then this Vishaka, she told the same thing to Buddha. These different women have these different intentions, which are not very superior intentions, very worldly intentions. Then Buddha inspired them. So death is actually following all of us, not just in this life, again and again. If you get a son or if you get a good husband, so this death is behind us all the time. In this life, next life also. If you get a good son or good husband or good people around you, so then it will keep on going, lives after lives, years after years, always behind us. So better work for Nibbana. Once you have this inclination towards Nibbana, then you start appreciating this law of cause and effect. So peacefully, without violence, without getting carried away, without getting trapped by these negative thoughts, let me escape from this. So for that, let me practice the right things, the meritorious things in thinking, in speech, in actions. That's why let me not indulge in this stupidity of violence, inflicting violence on others or violence on myself. For the sake of good rebirth, for the sake of good people around me, for the sake of heavens. That's what these so-called these fighters, these the people who are involved in these wars, they want to get a superior rebirth in some heavens where there are a lot of sensual pleasures, 72 hoors, so many things, so many sensual attractions there with the so mean attractions, mean, say, thinking. People indulge in violence. Because I do this, because somebody told me, my leader, I do all this nonsense. Definitely they don't get it. Rather, they will get the health, they will get more horrible environment. That is very. But the second thing is, see how much mean it is. If those minds are converted into some superior goals, like Nibbana, like absolute emancipation, where it is, where one will get the absolute happiness, the superior happiness, then such people, they don't care for this kind of inferior things, inferior happiness, and no, they don't indulge in this kind of violent things. That's what is Buddha talking about to these women here. Don't keep this kind of inferior goals. Have this ulterior goal, ulterior motive of the life, that is Nibbana. Then your upasana is more strong, your practice of 8 precepts becomes more strong. You will get the best results here and now. You will get all these secondary things very easily when you have a superior primary thing, that is Nibbana in your mind. So in that way, to avoid all this punishment in the form of repeated births, in the form of violence, in the form of quarrelsomeness, in the form of bad people around you, to escape from all these things, one should have the superior or the ulterior, the ultimate goal of Nibbana in one's own mind. Then you can escape from all these kinds of uh, punishments, the form of violence, the form of quarrelsomeness, the form of bad people. From all these things, you will escape. In that way, uh, Buddha was teaching these women, these different kinds of women with different intentions, who are practicing this upasata in the monastery built by this lady devotee Vishaka. So it again shows the importance of the right intentions, the right ulterior, the superior, the ultimate goal. Then all other goals will fall in place. All other activities will become superior activities. All other activities will get that purity when you have very absolute pure goal in your mind, that is the nibbana. And this is again one of the aspects of right view. If you have this proper goal in the life, then you can understand this law of cause and effects more authoritatively. then automatically all other comforts, all other support, all other protection you will get in the life. And your mind itself will choose the right things properly when you have this superior goal, that is Nibbana. So that if that is your goal in the life, then you will get all these things. Even your spiritual practices also become more pure. Unlike these people, so-called theistic or monotheistic people who struggle, who strive, who do all nonsense. The name of spirituality, all nonsense will go away when they have this right goal of Nibbana, absolute liberation. Understanding what is absolute liberation, understanding the path of absolute liberation, if they develop that right view, then they don't fall into all this nonsense. So that's what is the message. Again, how this karma accumulates lives after life, not only in this life, this action and reaction, it works. How it accumulates, that is also explained in one very beautiful gatha, some three gathas, four gathas, in the four gathas. So those who are indulged in violence, so and if it accumulates, so he will end up in some 10 problems. He who with the rod or the stick harms the rodless or the innocent people, he will end up in 10 kinds of problems. Soon will come to one of these 10 states. He will subject to acute pain, disaster, bodily injury, or even grievous sickness. One very horrible sickness he will end up with, or he will end up in some acute injury with some accident. He will end up in accident. He will end up in some severe sickness if a person is indulged in violence. Like these people who are always thinking about violence, working for generating such kind of weapons of mass destruction, mass violence, always involved in that mass violence day by day, every day. Such people, they attract the germs, the repercussions in the form of grievous sickness, in accidents, in horrible accidents, loss of mind. They may go crazy, they may become mad also, or oppression by the king, or they will be caught by the king, or oppression by the king, or heavy accusation, some severe punishment or heavy accusation they may have to face by the government, or loss of relatives, close relatives, they may lose. The people who are always busy indulging themselves in violence, they will go through all these different kinds of problems. They will get back that evil thing in the form of all these things. And then destruction of wealth, or all their wealth may be destroyed. That's what you can see in these war zones. People get affected in many of these in ways, the different ways I'm explaining. That their wealth may be completely destroyed. Some of these criminals, the government will destroy their wealth. They bulldoze their houses, they destroy their wealth. They may get severe disease, horrible diseases. They may lose their limbs. They may lose their close relatives, their family members. Or ravaging fire that will burn their houses, their property. Even one big ravaging fire may destroy them, like accidents may happen. Even the natural catastrophes, like these floods and earthquakes, all these things may destroy them. Those who are busy in indulging, inflicting pain on others, indulging in violence, they get back these kind of horrible repercussions. That's what Buddha talks about. With regard to one very, very famous, the chief disciple of Buddha, his name is Moggallana. He was very wise, very powerful in the so-called supernormal abilities. He had very powerful supernormal abilities. He could fly, he could dive into the earth, he could do 1 million supernormal say feats. What he can become millions of He can replicate himself. He can become very small. He could become very big. He was next to Buddha in the supernormal powers. He was such a powerful person who developed his mind to a great extent. And even such person, he was indulged in some very evil action in one of his previous lives, long, long back. He killed his own parents, his blind parents. uh, because of the influence of his wife. He killed his own blind parents, took them into the forest, and he acted as if some thieves have attacked, and he only killed his parents, uh, showing his parents that some thieves have killed them or attacking them. With that kind of pretension, he killed his parents. Because of that evil action, it has accumulated. It has become one very, very, say, intense or very heinous evil action. It has entered into his subconscious very deeply, and it has shown its effect for so many lives, afterlives. And even in the last life, as a powerful arahant who has purified his mind to a great extent, but still this was there to some extent in his stream of consciousness. And it has to get the result that he knew, he realized this Moggallana. And some people who are, like say, who are jealous of this Moggallana from the other religious sects, they appointed some killers to kill this Moggallana, and they came and they tried to kill him. But because he was very, very intelligent, very conscious of the people, these people who wanted to kill him, he could escape. Then he understood that this evil action that he has done previously, that bad karma, it is still there, and he has to come out of that bad karma. For that, he just he could not show his supernormal feat. He just surrendered to those killers, and they killed him. But still, because he was very powerful in his mind, in his supernormal powers, they destroyed him completely. His bones were broken into several pieces, and they thought he is killed. But again, with his supernormal powers, he could put his bones together, and he could appear in front of Buddha, and he told the entire thing. Then Buddha asked him to give one Dhamma talk to all his disciples, and he gave a Dhamma talk, and then he gave up his body and he entered into what is called the Mahaparinibbana. He completely got emancipated into Nibbana. So even for such powerful arhants, these accumulated evil actions, the heinous evil action, you can't escape from the repercussions of that heinous action, even though if you're an arahant, though you won't suffer mentally. Though of course he is a very powerful arahant, he could not suffer physically also, but the action and reaction, it worked in that case also. The law of karma worked in that case also, in the case of Moggallana also. So that's why one should not indulge in this kind of violence, in this kind of inflicting pain, especially on the good people, especially on the people who helped you, like your parents, teachers, good people, renunciates. That is very, very heinous. And next heinous is killing the humans. Next heinous is killing very, very evil people. Next heinous is killing the animals. So in that way, that heinousness, that extent of evilness, it is very much there. But whatever may be the extent of violence, it will come back to you sooner or later. So in this case, in Moggallana's case, it was long back. It was long time back. He was indulged in that violence, but it has shown its effects when he was an arhant, even at the last birth, and who became arhant. Even that law of karma, that repercussion, it has not, it could not leave even an arhant also. Even the arhant has to face the consequences of his evil actions. So in that way, Buddha is warning the people not to indulge in any kind of violence, physical violence, mental violence, verbal violence. It is unnecessary. You have so many other great things to do, many superior, far, far better things to do. Why should you simply waste this human life by simply indulging in all these very, very inferior, very, very mean things like this violence? Now, violence is the meanest of all the evil things. So such kind of violence one should avoid uh, as skillfully as possible, and better focus on the better things that you have to do in the life, the superior things, or there are so many other things which are far far better than this. There one should focus. That's what is the instruction here by the Buddha. Okay, so in that way, Buddha is asking the followers, the audience, not to indulge in these things and have some superior goal in the life, and based on that superior goal, design your life. Huh? And again, he is encouraging in one of the suttas, one gathas, actually one minister. He was decked like very postly, like the ministers with lot of jewels, with lot of costly clothes, because he developed some kind of um, remorse after losing one of his courtesans, one of his dancing girl, or even though he won the war. Because of that grief, he came to Buddha, and he learned this law of cause and effect, this right view, and then he could comprehend that, and he became an arahant. And after an arahant, he died. Immediately after becoming an arahant, he died. And then disciples of Buddha he inquired. So, what is his uh, uh, situation now? Where he is reborn? Then Buddha says he is completely emancipated. He became an arahant. And they were shocked. Even as a layperson, even wearing these jewels and even wearing these ornaments and all, this costly cloth, one can become an arahant. He says, yes, it is one's ability to comprehend this law of cause and effect, one's ability to comprehend this right view, that is more important than what you wear, what you are indulged in. That is secondary. Your ability to comprehend, your ability to control the mind, your ability to understand this law of cause and effect and right view, that is more important. That way Buddha put it. So in that way, so the message here is one should progress in this right view. One should correctly comprehend this law of cause and effect. And if you have, say, time, you should practice all these things in each and every activity, in each and every thought, in each and every mental action, physical action, verbal action. You should bring in all these things. Focus on some superior goals like the goal of Nibbana. Don't get carried away in all the unnecessary, cheap things of the life, like all these wars and battles and quarrels, or even some petty things with some wrong views of I will get this, I will get that. Some superior authority has told this, some divinity has revealed to some person and he has told this, it is more authoritative. All that meanness, with all that dullness, with all that ignorance, one should come out with the proper understanding of right view, proper understanding of right goal, proper understanding of right paths. If you understand right view and this law of cause and effect, then you understand all these things, the right goal, the right path, the right association, all these things you understand. And also you understand what is right speech, what is the correct way of speaking, correct way of acting, the right actions you will learn. Not to kill, not to steal, not to indulge in sexual misconduct, not to lie, not to take intoxicants, and you indulge in the right livelihood also. You don't simply fall prey to the wrong livelihoods. Buddha says the right livelihood is like not to take up the professions where a lot of violence and a lot of killing is involved, or a lot of intention of killing is involved, like manufacturing the weapons, the industries or the factories or any profession where this manufacturing of weapons or manufacturing of poisons are involved, then one should not take up those things. Then it becomes right livelihood. All other businesses are okay, but any business where this killing is involved, where this different means which will lead to killing, such kind of professions one should not take. That's why what I'm telling is violence is the meanest of all the evils, is the father of all evils, the violence. Hmm. Physical violence is, of course, there is a lot of evil thoughts, mentally violent thoughts. Then that only lead to the your physical violence. One should think so many 100 times or 1,000 times or 1 lakh times to kill someone in his mind first. Then only physically he will go and kill that person. Because of that reason, if you develop your mind, come out of all these mean and cheap uh, uh, evil thoughts by having superior goals, superior view, right view, superior, say, path, right path, with superior association, with right wise teachers, wise association, wise companions, then you can keep away all these wrong influences. Mainly, the wrong influences is rooted in violence. A violent influence, a violent thought is the meanest of all the thoughts, is the most evil of all the thoughts. That's why this livelihood question comes. Buddha highlights only about the violence. All other things, okay. As a human being, you have to do so many in your business. Sometimes you may have to lie. Sometimes you may have to cheat. Sometimes it may happen. But the violence and the killing, that definitely you should avoid in your profession. That's what Buddha says with regard to this right livelihood. So here the moral is the point is like violence one should avoid at all costs. Then you will start understanding. You can start penetrating into the right view, penetrating into the right livelihood in its different angles. From all angles, you can start penetrating in a more comprehensive way. That is what is the moral and the message of today's Dhamma talk. And I remember one incident that happened during the lifetime of one of the greatest monks, Ajahn Chah. One of his disciples, he recalls this incident. Once one soldier, he came to Ajahn Chah, and when he was like say fighting with some rebels or some enemies, he was shot by the enemies, and it has struck his throat, and he felt very bad because he was a very pious disciple of this Ajahn Chah, very pious devotee of this Ajahn Chah. He was a very good, a very spiritual person where he used to practice so many things, spiritual things, under the uh, guidance of this Ajahn Chah. And after this incident, after he was shot by this by his enemies uh, as a military soldier, so he came back to Ajahn Chah and he was very much upset. I'm such a humble devotee of Dhamma, and I'm practicing whatever you're saying, and I'm very humble to you, great teacher. But why I am stuck with this? What is my bad karma? Why I am stuck with this horrible thing? Why I am shot? If I'm doing all these good things, I would not have been shot, would not have been inflicted with so much of violence. What is my wrong karma? In that way, he asks this teacher, Ajahn Chah. And Ajahn Chah says, joining the military itself is your bad karma. He was very straightforward, Ajahn Chah master. If you're joining military means like, military means after all what? What is the very purpose of military? Either to kill others or in the war to die. If you're ready to die, if you're ready to kill, then only you are suitable for military. That is the minimum understanding when you are selecting your profession. That is like joining the military. If that is the minimum understanding, that is the karma that you have taken. You have consciously selected that profession where killing is inevitable. When killing is inevitable, either killing yourself by others, by your enemies, or you killing your enemies, their killing is inevitable. If that is the situation in military, that is what is the very purpose of military, then joining that military is your karma, your bad karma. That has attracted you to get shot by these your enemies in your throat. So simple it is. So in that way, when selecting the professions, if you are ready for that to die or to be killed, it's okay. But you should not repent it later. If you can't kill, but if you have simply died, then you can't repent it. I'm not discouraging this military thing and this valor and this warrior thing or this fighting spirit and all. That is not the point here. The point here is the understanding, the clarity in what you are doing, and for that, what you are going to get back. That clarity is the point here. If you're ready to kill and if you're ready to, then you should be ready to die also. And you should be ready to go through all other consequences, like in the case of Mangalan, it will follow you maybe years and years, lives and after lives. If you are ready for that, it's okay, like the Bodhisattvas also. Sometimes the Bodhisattvas have to kill, but they are very clear that they are going to face the consequences of this. They will be killed, not only in this life, in the subsequent lives also they will be killed. That they were very clear. But because of some inevitable circumstances, they had to kill or they had to indulge some pain. And if that clarity, with that clarity, if one indulges, it is also not good. One should have the ultimate goal of nibbana as soon as possible. But everybody we can't have that kind of goal. If that kind of situations arise, have this clarity and one should indulge in that kind of professions. So that is what is the message. That is what is the point. Okay, so don't get confused here. Here, violence is bad at any cost. So where violence is there in any profession, you should avoid it, even if it is military. That is what is the point. But it doesn't mean that because all these things, it is for we can talk so much about this, about the need of military, about the need of violence in military, about country, about nation, about the boundaries of the land, about the religion, protecting the good. For these things, one should indulge in violence. There are so many arguments we can go through, but if you understand this law of cause and effect, tit for tat, if you are ready for that, and if you're ready for the subsequent consequences in the uh, lives after this life, if you're ready for all these things, then only you should indulge in whatever violence that you are involved in, either in your profession or in your actions. Simply don't repent after that. Simply don't develop guilt and remorse after that. Have this clarity, have this broad angle, not for with some simple, with very simplistic views like these many religious people who are fighting uh, some political reasons for the sake of land, for the sake of salary, for the sake of say listening to the name of nationalism, in the name of religion, in the name of obedience to your leadership. In the so many ways, for so many ways, people indulge in violence. But whatever may be your reason for indulging in violence, you should be aware of its consequences, its repercussions, based on this law of cause and effect. Have this complete picture about this law of cause and effect with regard to violence also. Then one should take up one's actions, one's professions, and based on that, one should handle the life. So that is what is the Danda vagga about this violence and punishment. And if you have some quick questions, you can ask, and then we'll conclude with one small chanting. Oh, question from Chetana Pradeep. Will a profession of serving in the armed forces to protect our country lead to bad karma? Yeah, that's what I was telling you. Oh, it is like just like protecting the religion, people are fighting now. Protecting the nation, people are fighting in this Ukraine and Russia. They want to protect their nation, both the countries. And in this Israel and uh, this Hamas, Palestine, it's both land and also the religion. Both are involved there. So because of some rigid views, they hold on to it. But if your consequences of your karma, like violence, will come back to me. Whatever violence I inflict, I will get back the violence. If I inflict pain, I will get back the pain. If that is very clear in you, and based on that clarity also, if you want to sacrifice your life for the sake of land, for the sake of family, for the sake of religion, for the sake of your prestige, for the sake of, for so many sakes, people indulge in violence. But you should very clearly, you should know its repercussions. And after clearly knowing the repercussions of your violence, still if you want to sacrifice yourself by inflicting pain on the other person, by killing him, that you can save your country, save your land, save your water. So many people, they fight for even small things also. They're ready to sacrifice their life for the sake of a small piece of land also, because that is like big country for him, for his situation, for his mind. Now, two brothers you might have seen fighting and killing each other for the sake of maybe some patch of land, for the sake of women, for the sake of family, for the sake of water. Some two states fighting with one another for the sake of river water. That happened during the time of Buddha also. Buddha's own relatives, father's side relatives, mother's side relatives, they started fighting for the water of one river. Then he has to say, your blood is more precious than the water of this river. Why you want to shed your blood for the sake of water? Somehow you could share the water among yourselves instead of simply shedding your blood. But some people, they could not listen to it. Even the Buddha tries to convince them. They fight and they died. They killed and they died also. So it's again depends on your purpose in the life. What for I'm living? Whether I'm living for this piece of land, this patch of land, or for this water, or for this family, or for this country, or for this state, or for my religion, or for my wrong view of the religion, or my religion, or for my liberation, whether I am living, whether that is my purpose. If that clarity, if you have, then you choose what for you should sacrifice your life. The Arhants also, they sacrifice everything. Buddha also sacrificed his life so many times in so many lives, and Arhants also. So here I am going through a lot of hardships from my childbirth. From my childhood, I am going through a lot of hardships. For the sake of, let us say, this nibbana, then for me, it is like some violence I am creating on myself. It's okay for me because my goal is, let us say, nibbana. In that way, everybody has to involve in some kind of violence on oneself at least, if not on the others. Violence means some kind of hardship at least. That is very much there in this existence when you take birth as a human being. But what for you are inflicting violence on you or violence on others? What is the reason? For some people, sacrificing for the nation itself is a great thing. That is their ulterior motive. For some people, dying for their religion is their ulterior, utmost, ultimate goal. That is itself is ultimate goal. But how wise it is, how true it is, how right it is, that also one should think. After thinking also, many people, they conclude there, like all these terrorists and all these people who are waging war. For them, it is very clear. We want to die for our religion. We are ready to die for our scripture. Whatever is there in our scripture, that is ultimate. We are ready to die for. That's what is their understanding. It's okay. So finally, everything boils down to one's own understanding about the purpose of life. Then one can die or kill for the sake of even 1 centimeter of land, or one can give up his body for the sake of nibbana. It all matters. It all depends on one's understanding, one's comprehension of one's own ultimate goal in the life, ultimate purpose of the life. Okay. Any other question? Okay, no more questions. So now we'll conclude with a small chant. नमो तस्सा भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्सा भवतु सर्वमङ्गलं रक्षन्तु सर्वदेवता सर्वबुद्धानुभावेन सर्वधम्मानुभावेन सर्वसङ्घानुभावेन सदा स्वस्ति भवन्तु ते सुखी भवेयं निर्दुःखो अहं निच्चा अहं विया इदा च मे सुखी होन्तु मज्जता च तवेदिनो इमां हि गम्मन्ते धम्मे सत्ता होन्तु सुखी सदा ततो परञ्चारज्येषु चक्रवालेषु जन्तनो सत् 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 सुखी होन्तु. So many of these emotional things, they will make the people very blind. Actually, one lady, she was, when I was talking something like this, about this violence, about this so right livelihood, wrong livelihood, where killing is involved, all such professions are wrong livelihood. Then she felt very bad. And then about this military and all, safeguarding the nation and all. Then I told her, say, let us say you, whether you are ready to send your son. She was some elderly lady, some 45, 50 years old lady, to the military, and are you ready for that? Then she said, no, no, no. The other people, they should go and they should fight for their country, not my son. That is what is the wrong emotion. The emotions will simply blind us. When it comes to me and my people, my son, my daughter, then people will think. Then they start thinking, oh, which is the superior goal, which is the ultimate goal. How much is me and my life and my son's life, which is more important. All these things they start gauging. In that way, one should have this understanding of the ultimate goals in life, and based on that, one should decide his profession. Okay, that is the point here. So the summary of today's Danda Vagga is: whatever violence you inflict, sooner or later, in somewhere the other way, even after many lives also, in the next life also, not only in this life, it will come back to me. If I'm ready for that, it's okay. I indulge in it. If I'm not ready for that, then I should look for the alternative. I should look for some better alternative. So that is what is message of today's Dandavata. Sukhi Hantu Mangal.